here on QL TV. Hopefully you've been following BetQL. Again, enter the code BobbyFi for 20% off of everything. And please like and subscribe these shows. We're doing them for free. So take it or leave it. We've been absolutely on fire with NBA. MLB has been a little bit trickier for me. Like, I've had a lot of close calls, but I just seem to always be missing one or two things. So we're going to try and get that straightened out today. Did win a couple tournaments this week in NBA, a couple single entry things, which is cool. And we're going to be right back at it today. So I think we're going to start with NBA, but you're going to have to give me 1 minute. I'm going to get this loaded. So again, if you're just joining us, just wait about 1 or 2 minutes, and I'm going to have everything set up and ready to go. Let me tweet this out real quick, and we'll get started. And guys, say what's up when you get in the chat. Make sure to say hello, do all that stuff. You know, I mentioned like and subscribe, but remember to say hello when you get in the chat. You know, right when you can. Sorry about this. I'm trying to multitask here. Now. All right, let's do this, guys. Let's start talking about it. I think we're going to start off with some NBA. Straight up, I've been crushing my actual bets here. It's weird to see Milwaukee as a 5-point favorite in some sense because Miami has looked like the better team, and I think this is a tough series as I thought it would be. I thought Milwaukee would win this series. I still think that they might. I think it's a really tough matchup for them. I don't think there's a tougher matchup for them. Exactly. I mean, maybe Lakers and Clippers, you can argue for sure. But this specifically just suits them so well. You got Milwaukee as a 5-point favorite. I'm not going to bet this one. I do like Milwaukee in this one to come out strong. So if I had to, I would take Milwaukee. And I don't know if I would take the over because I would like Milwaukee to maybe have I think they'll have a stomping game. I just don't know when it's coming. So I'm going to take a shot that just in case it comes anytime soon or right now. What's up, OJ? I see you over there in chat. For some reason, my chat sign doesn't seem to be loading over here. But what's up, man? Ask any QQs, get any questions in when you get in the chat. We're happy to keep that stuff going. But again, I like Milwaukee to win today. If you want to use it as a part of a parlay, just take it money line. I don't really want to get into the point spread, although I do think Milwaukee is more likely to win by a significant amount, more likely than to win a close game based on the way things have looked so far. But of course, that's not a gospel or anything. So. I sort of like that bet. It just from a straight betting angle, talking about the Lakers and Houston. This is an incredible series. I can't wait. I've got nothing else to do. I've got my coffee and my water. I'm just going to sit here and be ready for this awesome matchup. It's completely opposite teams. You couldn't have two teams who do things more differently. Anthony Davis is going to go crazy. We'll talk about the DFS part of this in just a minute. But straight betting wise, I like the Lakers sort of in game one. They are 6-point favorites. I think Houston is a great bet to win this series. I actually think Houston is like a 40% chance to win this series. I don't know, maybe even higher. I don't know that the Lakers' shooting can keep up with the pace that they could play at, especially if Westbrook is okay, which he hasn't looked. But seeing the minute increase with him and all that, I do think Houston has a great chance to win this series, and it's an awesome bet at I think plus 320 or so right now. But overall, I think the Lakers, it's a good spot tonight. Houston just got over an emotional series they could barely get out of. We'll get into the DFS part in just a minute, but those are my sort of straight line bets. Again, if you want to get the good stuff, go to betql.co, give you all the details of who everybody likes, who all the sharps are betting on, every single thing you could want. And again, use the promo code BobbyFi for 20% off everything. And get your questions in. I'm going to be checking back and forth in between the chat. So it's interesting. So OJ, I don't know how to pronounce that. OJL is saying that he likes the Rockets today. Lakers will be rusty. That's totally possible. I kind of like that. I mean, I don't mind that at all. I just could see it going the other way, and this could be the one blowout Laker game early. I also think it's a really interesting series if the games are close because I sort of think that I don't know if the Lakers shooting can keep up with this team. I really don't. But I also saw the way that OKC was able to slow down the Rockets at times. And Harden shrunk in a lot of spots. And, you can say Westbrook played poorly at times. Sure he did. But, the truth is they were 2-1 with Westbrook in the series. And he's at least willing to take that shot. Harden didn't always seem willing to me. So, anyway, let's get to the DFS side of it real quickly. Again, next week we'll have the graphics called up and everything like that. But for this week, we're still sticking with just the old school style, talking about the game. So I think what I'm going to do is, in my lineups, I think I'm going to have about 50% Giannis. I like him to have a big game at one point in this series. I think this will be the one. I think they will stop playing him this 35, 38-minute thing. This is BS. Budenholzer has been awful. Maybe the worst playoff coach. Him and Mike Malone have been two of the worst in recent memory. while all these things they do that make them good regular season teams, and you can say, hey, that's what got us there, BS. Like, when you play in the playoffs, you play your best players. That's it. You don't have 25 minutes for 15 guys. Like, get out of here. Go get these guys some minutes. Play them a real amount of minutes. Play Chris Middleton 40 minutes. Play Eric Bledsoe 35. Maybe not Bledsoe quite as much. I mean, he's got positives and negatives. But anyway, play your guys. Don't spread it out like this. So I'm going to take Bledsoe's the obvious play and going to be pretty chalky, and I like him. I think he's a really good play. I think he'll be in about 50% of my lineups too. But I do like Giannis, and I especially like trying to get in Giannis with Westbrook or Harden. Especially, I don't think Harden's going to be – we'll see what happens anyway. I do sort of like that sort of whole situation, though. And I actually like Middleton as an interesting play. People are going to play some George Hill. I don't know how much they'll really commit to it, but I don't think that even with Bledsoe in, it's like his minutes still seem to be basically the same the way they've played so far. He did have the one monster game, I guess, without Bledsoe where he played a ton of minutes, but he didn't have any extra usage or anything. And it's kind of weird, like, how that works. Like, they almost need someone to attack the paint so he can shoot open threes. So it's like he almost, like, him and Bledsoe on the court at the same time would actually make sense. Anyway, Brooke Lopez is one of the, good value plays at center. I think there's upside on his minute projection, which is around the industry around 30. I think there's upside for his production in every way. And I like this side of it a lot. So I would, Giannis is going to be in, a good portion of my lineups, as I mentioned, but these other guys are all going to be sprinkled. I think I won't get to as much Middleton as I'd like because of the way my builds are going, but I might change that by the end of things because he is small forward eligible, and it sort of becomes like a him versus West versus Bam at center kind of argument, and it's an interesting conversation. So switching to the other side, Miami real quick. And again, get your questions and get your thoughts in chat because I love to have these shows go back and forth, and it makes things a lot more fun. I got a question from Jamie in a minute. Let me just real quick. Actually, let me jump to Jamie's question or thought here. Can you tell us your thoughts on D'Antoni's coach speak about opening some more minutes? I'm hearing chatter of the industry about McLemore getting more run. It's totally possible. I think you can play that on speculation in long shot tournaments. I don't know that I would prioritize those guys. I do like Eric Gordon quite a bit. Seems to be a little bit overlooked. Nearly helped me win the money by just literally going 5x the other night. That's all you needed. So I don't know what's going to happen. My guess is that you're going to see their best foot forward, and maybe this game is the game you won't see that. But I think the rest of the series is Westbrook's a safe bet. Like, I could see them if they get in trouble today, sort of not punting, but not going as hard for it as maybe they would at other times. So that's sort of what I think about that a little bit. I don't know how much credit to give to that. I do think he might try some things early, and if the guys are hot, I'm sure he'll leave them in. But that's sort of always the case with Houston anyway, so it's not really anything different. Maybe he'll give them a little longer leash if they're hot. I don't know. I don't think it's incredibly relevant because I don't think you're playing those guys, but I think taking shots on them in long shot tournaments is probably like a reasonable thing to do. On the Miami side, okay, so Jay Crowder will be the fairly chalky guy. We don't know about Iguodala's health. I don't mind taking a shot with Iguodala at 3.5 on DraftKings. If he does play, I could see it, going a different direction. And then you've got, Kelly Olynyk played great in the last game and still only, played 15 minutes and put up 20 fantasy points. So this team has been spreading it out. I love Duncan Robinson for GPPs. I just think that he's going to break through in one of these games, and you're going to see like a 35, 40 fantasy point performance. Hard to find guys like that at his price. You could say a similar thing about Hero. First of all, he doesn't have small forward eligibility, which is less important today. There's good guards, but there's also good forwards. He's got more of a minutes thing, and he can probably get you to 30 pretty often. I don't know if he can get you to 40. Again, Dragic is still an awesome play as he's been every day, and I'll keep saying it. He's the reason why Jimmy Butler is not as good a play because they're running so much of the offense through him, and Jimmy Butler is playing unselfish, and they're winning, and I just expect more of the same to try and happen. So I'm not going to play much Jimmy Butler today. I am going to play Dragic some. I am going to play Crowder. I'm going to not play as much Bam as you might think, and maybe I'm hoping a little bit for a blowout, I guess, in this game. The center position, I sort of like the idea of Lopez. I sort of like the idea of Tucker spending down over there. I don't feel like – and Bam gets you 50, maybe I'm in a little bit of trouble, but I don't know if that's necessarily like a guarantee. Like, he played great in game one. He only had 30 fantasy points in game two. The minutes are there. He's always potential for foul trouble. He did have 17 rebounds in the games, and it's not like he's shooting the ball much. He's only shot it 20 times twice in 2 games so far, and I think a couple of those were like last-second shot clock ones. So I actually could see the Bam and Butler fade because the way the offense is sort of running as a whole. if Iguodala is out, it might affect a lot, not like usage because he doesn't have any usage, but just Robinson might get a few more minutes. Derek Jones and Kendrick Nunn will, but they're not going to be relevant. I still think Iguodala probably plays. Maybe they do if they do sit him. Either way, I think even if he's limited, Duncan Robinson is a really good tournament play that's going to be low owned that just can always shoot himself into the winning tournament lineup. It's hard to get guys less than 20% on these slates, and he's one of them. Houston side, I don't know what they're going to do with Westbrook. I really am thinking if there's one game where they might just take him a little bit along slowly, why wouldn't you do that game one after only having 1 day off? And he's really obviously not quite himself yet. They needed him desperately to try and close out that OKC series, and he only played 27 minutes game 6 and 34 in game 5. I'm sorry, game 7. I still love Westbrook. He's going to be in half my lineups tonight. I just think he matches. He's the way they beat this Laker team. I was at the game when they played after they decided to go small and all that, and he's the one who scares you. The crazy high-owned Covington, I'm going to play him. I have him in my lineups about 40% so far. The problem is you have a really high-owned guy who's been absolutely incredible, by the way, and his steal block upside, which was amazing in the last series against those little guards, is probably not as high against this Laker team. And with him potentially matching up with Davis for part of it, he and Tucker will both probably take turns, depending on how big the Lakers go. You could see him in foul trouble, which brings up an interesting tournament play that I don't think people are looking at, and that's the other center, and that's Jeff Green, power forward on FanDuel. It's a long shot, sure. He definitely takes a hit against Westbrook, but this is a bigger team that's going to play bigger. You think you might see some Tucker and Green minutes together, and having them maybe play a little bit larger. It's definitely possible. Then again, James Harden will guard like a guy like JaVale McGee quite often because he doesn't do anything else. So you can find other ways around it, but it might, if they're getting beaten up enough on the boards, or if there's anything that happens to Covington with foul trouble, you might see Jeff Green out there a little bit longer. And Daniel House is a little bit of a wild card, in the same mold. I think he's the more obvious one, but I think Jeff Green actually I can see the route a little bit better than I can for House. And it wasn't long ago, Jeff Green was the play over Covington at the same price. And I know that was about Westbrook, but it's worth noting. I really like Eric Gordon. I think he gets overlooked tonight. I think that Eric Gordon and Westbrook together, or maybe in non-Harden lineups, that's what I would do. I think he's a pretty safe bet. I think if you're playing he's like a cash game play at tournament ownership on a 2-game slate. So I like him quite a bit. I think the Lakers are going to have trouble with the way this team moves the ball, so you're going to have open 3-point shooters. I also like PJ Tucker quite a bit, even though his price is up. You get such a ceiling in minutes. Now, he can get in foul trouble too, but he's still going to play until he fouls out. He's playing, 39, 38 minutes a game, and he's been putting up, he put 27 and 32 in the last 2 games when they really needed him. He's a tough guy, never an exciting play, but can hit a couple threes and potentially get you a double-double because of the rebounding situation. So that's what you hope for with him, and I think that he's a worthwhile play, a guy I'll be ahead of the field on. Again, Covington, I don't know. I want to be with him. I want to be on. He's going to be so popular, trying to find ways to fade him. Haven't found the way yet, but that's where I'm at for right now. And then we get over to the Lakers side, where I think Anthony Davis is a legitimate argument as potentially being the best play on this slate of anybody in terms of just raw points. So he would be that guy. Hard not to play him on FanDuel. Probably won't get as much ownership on DraftKings because of the Harden, Davis. And again, Harden's the other one I'm deciding. I think I'm going to play Harden in one of my big lineups, not play him anywhere else or something, because he has the ability to break the slate kind of, and this kind of a slate. And I just think he's not going to get much ownership tonight with the way it's looked at. I like Westbrook. I'll have Harden in some of my non-Westbrook lineups, and I might have 1 or 2 with them in a game stack together. On the Lakers side, on the Lakers side, I do have a hot take though, and let's see if it's a hot take based on projected ownership. Okay, so it's not a hot take. I think you need to play these Laker guards. This team plays small. I also think you need to take shots on Kuzma, but I think that between KCP, Caruso, Danny Green, pretty much one of those guys should be in your lineups, I think. And I think maybe you could have 2 of them in game stacks, and I actually think it makes a lot of sense. The minute ceiling is definitely going to go up because we don't have – even if we get Rondo back, I don't care. It doesn't matter. Caruso's still going to get the more meaningful minutes, I think. If there's no Rondo somehow, let's go. I really think these guards are just going to have to play minutes, and there's just going to be open shots. There's going to be a lot of things going on. The main play is Davis. You're going to beat this Houston team inside, obviously. But playing some of these guards, I think, is a really, really good idea. And they're going to have some ownership. They're going to be spread out between them a little bit. my favorite is Caruso. My second favorite is I really think KCP and Danny Green are probably safer plays than Caruso, but I like the Caruso upside more, and he's a little bit cheaper, not much. Doesn't have the small forward eligibility that KCP does, which makes KCP a better player. I'm actually going to remind myself to get a little bit more KCP because I think he's going to be on the court a lot. If anybody gets in foul trouble, though, somebody's minutes could just go through the roof because the way this team's going to move the ball. And I don't expect the Lakers to play big very long in this game. I just don't think it's going to work. They should start the same way that they always do. You could play JaVale or Dwight because in the minutes they're there, they could go nuts, and they might get 20 minutes because they're playing well or dominating, or the Lakers are playing well or something like that. But I don't think that's the way I'm building today personally. So that's pretty much my little NBA spiel. I'm going to take a quick look at looks like I've got some more people in here. Hey, what's up, Kevin? How you doing? Sorry, my other chat isn't working on the restream, so I'm not seeing everything. It doesn't look like this is going out to everyone either, which is kind of unfortunate. It just seems like it's on YouTube only right now. Don't forget to give us the like and thumbs up. We appreciate it. Let's see. Like the Rockets long delay. John Diaz, what's up, buddy? You like Dwight for some reason. I'm okay with taking a shot there. I just don't think that I'm not going to make it a staple of mine. He's going to have a little bit of ownership. I would rather go the extra, 500 and play Jeff Green. That's what I would do. That's what I will do. So I'll tell you that. Westbrook, like he's getting more rhythm. Yeah, he does at times, but then I could see him exploding. I think he's the best. I think he is like the obvious play, and I'm kind of annoyed that everyone's going to know it now, but I could see if this game gets a little bit ugly, and it is possible. I mean, Houston might be a little bit worn down. The Lakers could dominate one game. I still like Houston a lot to make this it's going to be a great series. I think Houston's going to dominate the Lakers some games, but this doesn't feel like the spot as much to me. But I still love Westbrook. I still have him in half my lineups. Anyway. Oh, on FanDuel, yeah, he makes. Oh, FanDuel. Yeah, FanDuel's an interesting little debate real quick. I sort of think, again, I would probably just try and I'm just going to play I'll pay for PJ Tucker's minutes. I mean, it sucks, but I'll pay for Brooke Lopez, There's a ceiling for Brooke Lopez, too, that's higher than Dwight's. It's not I know you're giving up some money, but FanDuel I do look at as trying to win positions and save in weird spots. So I'll have a little bit of a mix. I don't know entirely how it's going to end up yet, but right now I currently am not playing Dwight, but I did consider him. I just don't think I'm going to do it. I don't know. I'm having a hard time with doing it myself. But all right, let's get to some MLB stuff. I want to talk real quick. We got we'll go game by game. Instead of going game by game, you know what? F that. Let's try it a different way today. We're going to go position by position. I'm going to tell you my favorite plays at each position, and that's what we're going to do because I want to do something different. We'll have sheets back next week. So while I'm doing it myself, I'm going to tell you my favorite plays at each position on DraftKings, and then we can talk a little FanDuel if you guys have any specific questions over there. On DraftKings, I like. Okay, so a lot of people are going to play the Phillies today, and I think I might not be one of them for a change. And I really like two stacks better than the rest, and that's my reasoning. And I think Porcello and Arrieta on both sides of that game can be decent enough at times where I can maybe fade that game and avoid some chalk. I do think Real Muto is obviously projected to score the most points. I like Will Smith in stacks. I like James McCann in stacks. Those are pretty much the guys I'm using. I don't have a big catcher pool today. I will pay all the way down for any of the cheapies. Jose Trevino is batting third. That's the guy against Kikuchi. Even if you're playing Kikuchi, I think that makes some sense. We'll get to pitchers at the end. So he's a guy I'll use. But again, other than that, I'm looking for guys with my stacks, and they're mostly going to be White Sox and Dodgers. First base, we have Abreu, Bellinger, Muncy, who can play third also. Bellinger you can use in the outfield. Abreu and Encarnacion, I love a ton. I don't think the White Sox are going to get, especially Abreu, I don't think he's going to get the ownership I think he deserves. So Abreu, Muncy, Bellinger. I know the Dodgers will be popular, but Abreu I see getting a little bit lower owned today on DraftKings. Don't really have a big hot first base take other than that. He's my guy mostly. I'm using the White Sox first baseman or the Dodgers. It's not a tricky slate for me in this sense. I know who I want. I'm going to go for it, and if I get one of the combinations right, we're going to win a ton of money, and we've been close. So I'm going to try and nail these ones. I don't mind taking the Mets guys and any of these things. So all the Mets and Phillies are in. Rhys Hoskins, 100% in play. Any Met, Pete Alonso in play, 100%. But you want the lefties against Arrieta in general. So I think for the Mets, I would prefer like Cano at second base, who I think is going to have some ownership even at 4.6. You've got Ketel Marte at 4.8, also a good play. The best, one of my favorites guys, unfortunately facing Carrasco, so I won't play Castanera today. I don't mind Tommy La Stella on FanDuel. I really think you're paying down for Nick Solak if you're not playing Kikuchi. Just a talented kid batting in the middle of the order at 2.9K. That's Jeff McNeil's the other one. Just to remind everybody, Jeff McNeil still has not hit a home run this year. Always makes me a little nervous with guys like that. I think that the guy, this guy hasn't hit a home run either, but he hasn't played. If Gavin Lux is in the lineup, I think we want to play Gavin Lux in our Dodger stacks. I don't mind him in little 2-men or 3-men. If you have to use Madrigal, I don't even know how to pronounce his last name. The White Sox second baseman is batting 9th. Okay, I would rather find other ways to do it because there's other value, but that's one thing I would look at. Who else are we missing? Anybody else I'm missing? I don't really think so. You can make an argument for Colton Wong, although I don't really like picking on you. Although the weather is, I don't love you as much as I often have this year because of the weather is a little bit more hitter friendly than we've seen in other weeks. Jumping over to third base, I know naturally it'd be shortstop, but I'm just going on my list here. The cheap play is Aledmus Diaz against Bundy. Definitely some power upside there at flat minimum. I think that Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, again, going to be low owned and it goes up against Kikuchi. I'm not saying I do like Kikuchi. I actually like him on FanDuel even, but you can play these cheap Texas guys at 2.8. So those are my sort of value-y guys. Jose Ramirez is the second base eligible tonight. Third base. I'm sorry. I jumped back. Sorry about that. Alec Baum, if you're playing a Philly stack, is fine. Jose Ramirez is fine. I'm more into Muncy. I'm more into my stacks. I love Muncy and Moncada, I guess, are my guys. Moncada is expensive. I think we can take advantage of these White Sox being expensive on DraftKings and use it to our advantage from an ownership standpoint because these dudes are powerful. Brady Singer's been giving up bombs. They're facing him for the second time in a row. Let's load up those White Sox stacks. I'm not saying they are all going to kill him at once, but I think the White Sox hit like 3 or 4 home runs as a team tonight, which is good enough for me because if they stay patient, the guys on base, you're going to get doubles in there. There's just so much you're going to have. I think you could see the White Sox hit double digits again. I like them quite a bit, as you can probably tell. So those are mostly my main guys. I'm going to move over to shortstop, and I'm going to go to questions after I'm done just going through my favorite plays. Corey Seager and Tim Anderson are the 2 shortstops I will be using primarily today. If there was someone else I would consider, I don't mind a wild card Javi Baez one-off, but I do like Flaherty, so it's a little tricky. If you want to fit in Taylor as the cheaper Dodger option in a Dodger stack, that's fine with me as well. 3.6K on DraftKings. Kiner-Falefa, again, 2.8K, shortstop eligible. That's what I've done with a couple lineups. People will play Elvis Andrus a little bit ahead of him, but I'll just remind people that Kiner-Falefa has been he's been literally twice the hitter that Elvis Andrus has been, and he's 500 more, but I would rather play him, and he's also batting second versus projected to be batting 6th, maybe even later with the way he's been hitting. So those, and then the usual suspects: Fernando Tatis against the lefty, 5.6K. Absolutely, go ahead and do it. I don't think I will be today, but I'm okay with it. You look at the total; is really low for that San Diego team, so I'm not overwhelmingly interested in that game. And Luzardo I actually think he's I don't think I'm going to play him, but I kind of like him a little bit, which is kind of weird to say. DD in your Philly stacks. And then, Correa, if you want to play Houston against Bundy. I don't know why everyone's going to want to pick on Bundy tonight, but I don't think I'm going to be doing it myself. I get some of the hitting history against him, but we've seen a better pitcher mostly this season. And I don't know. I'm just not as into the Astros, excuse me. We do have a heat wave in Southern California, so the hitting weather should be a little bit better than usual. So we can go ahead and talk about that. I was going to take a quick look at something. It's interesting to me that no one likes the pitchers in this game, that Houston-LA game. And personally, if I was rolling out a ton of lineups, I would have interest in both of them. These are not guys. This is not a game I think people should be looking to get too many players from. Like I said, I like the second base eligibility of La Stella on FanDuel, but that's pretty much all I got for you. And he's reasonably priced, and I kind of like. I like you can take one bat, but I'm not stacking that game. But again, it's mostly Seager and Anderson story for me. I'm not getting that crazy with my stuff, but like I'm looking at these, I'm getting very excited, because I'm looking at these ownerships. Conforto rates to be a perfect play against Arrieta. I'm guessing he's going to be more popular than where his projection is, but he is much cheaper on FanDuel, so I think people will play him more there. DraftKings, you can probably get him lower owned. Dodgers are going to be popular. Mookie, Bellinger, you want those guys. AJ Pollock would be one of my favorite plays in the slate at 3.3K, one of the best values you're going to find. Assuming that he's in the lineup tonight, Justin Upton is a priority for me. He's hitting the ball well. Good history against McCullers. Actually, is a good, faces him well pitch profile-wise. Won't be that high owned. 2.2K in the outfield. I think he's a really strong play. He's the guy in that game on DraftKings that I think you can use. I mentioned on FanDuel, I like La Stella a little bit. Always you can play, obviously, Mike Trout. I don't think I need to tell you guys that. Tavares is batting leadoff against Kikuchi at minimum cost, so I'm forced to mention him. And Marmajoy, I don't know how to pronounce it. He's interesting at 2.1K, also out there. So you've got some extreme value in the outfield. Michael Brantley is the guy I would most be interested in from the Houston side. Maybe Diaz, you could argue with the price, but Brantley is really cheap. Again, Jay Bruce in your Philly stacks, he's actually a guy, if you're going to stack that game, that you might want to kind of have to play. I like Nomar Mazara in my White Sox stacks. I know he hasn't hit one out yet. I know this guy's got real power. I'm hoping to hit him at the right time. I still think he's making some good contact when he does play. So I'm taking a shot with Nomar Mazara as a cheap White Sox outfielder. I don't think I'll be alone in that, but I don't think he'll be high owned either. So those are my cheapies. Obviously, bets, Dodgers. I want Eloy Jimenez and Robert, however you want to do it. Those are my guys who are going to be just completely way too low owned on FanDuel. I'm trying DraftKings. And I think I would go Robert ahead. He's just on fire, and I believe in fire. So that's where I'm at. And before I get to pictures, I'm going to jump into chat and take a look and see what questions we got, because I'm going to get out of here in about 15 minutes. Belly's destroyed Colorado so far this year. Yeah, I don't know about against a team that means anything. Also, they play in Coors when they play sometimes, so it's not always fair. But actually, this year I think they've been in LA. Do I like the DraftKings better than FanDuel, Bobby? The format is odd, maybe because you started with FanDuel. I think the FanDuel format is odder, and it's different. And I've done very well at both, but I definitely prefer DraftKings. I do like having a utility spot for baseball and FanDuel better. So maybe for baseball, I could say it's close. Doesn't look like we have a whole bunch of questions, so I'm going to talk about my pitchers before I get out of here. Guys, remember to like and subscribe. Please do whatever you can to keep us going on these free shows. Come on, join the BetQL crew. We've got a lot of stuff going on. Favorite stacks, Dodgers and White Sox. All right, so it's the same thing on FanDuel for me with those stacks. I will play some of this. I think I'll have one game stack. I know people hate the game stack for baseball term, but it's just because I like the idea of playing some of these guys. And I'll probably just take the fact that it's pretty good hitting conditions out there in New York and use that as a little bit of an excuse to get pieces from both sides of this game. I just don't feel as excited about it as I feel like the field does, so I'd rather be underneath it. So I just play it in one tournament, one medium-sized buy-in, and leave it alone for the rest of them. That's sort of the way I'm treating that game at this moment. Doesn't look like we have a whole lot of weather concerns tonight, which is always a lovely thing. Looking at the weather in Chicago, because that can be relevant sometimes. 10 miles an hour blowing out to the right, but still a very low total because we've got Flaherty and Darvish on the mound. Interesting, though, because that weather seems pretty conducive to hitting, and I don't know. It's interesting. Nobody's going to play that. So, all right, let's get into here's the argument. Kikuchi, Dunning, both Clark, Luzardo at a little bit of a higher price. Those are the guys you're considering for your spend downs. I think Kikuchi's my number one of those guys. Dunning would be number two. I don't like him facing the same team again. And KC can be oddly annoying sometimes. They also can be really bad. So it's a little, whatever. I don't like Tyler Anderson, but I think he ends up having a decent – I'm not going to play Tyler Anderson, but I think he ends up having a decent game. Maybe if you have a chalky stack you're with, you can use him as a pivot off of those other guys who are going to be about 30% owned. He might be 5% owned or 2% owned. So he might be an interesting pivot. Remember, this guy pitched for the Rockies most of his career and is now pitching for the Giants. Even if the stadium's a better hitter's park than before, huge upgrade for this kid. Luzardo is interesting. I feel like there's a little higher ownership than I would have thought. I think Flaherty's really interesting. He should be stretched back out. He's got 2 starts back now since the coming back. I think we can play Flaherty against the Cubs and hope we get that K upside, man. I love it. I can afford it, I think. There's plenty of value. So Flaherty, Carrasco, and Darvish. I think Darvish is the obvious one to most people. I like Carrasco and Flaherty better than Darvish. That's my take. I don't mind Corbin Burns, but I'm not going to use him. Just want to throw his name out. I think he's a good pitcher, which is why I'm not playing Cleveland bats too much tonight. Lance McCullers is a get in your player pool if you're playing a bunch of tournaments. Dylan Bundy would be another one. And that's pretty much it. I think I went through pretty much everything. So I'm going to see if there's any QQs before I get out of here because I've got a bunch of lineups to get to. Favorite FD pitcher. It's a tough one. I mean, I always am a fan of just paying up for the best pitcher on the slate, so you can just do that. But I also like Kikuchi at his value, so I will be doing a mix of those things. But I like both of that. I sort of like what Kikuchi can get me, and I think he's got the upside. Priorities for White Sox stacks would be Abreu. It would have been Grandal, but he's not in the lineup today. Abreu, I like Robert and Jimenez. Oh, sorry, Moncada, Abreu, Anderson, Abreu, Moncada, Robert, Jimenez, McCann. That's probably the order I would do it. Yeah, that is the order I would do it. Hey, Malcolm, I'll sum up the NBA for you. I like taking the shot. I'll read it over in a second. Those are those ones. Guys, get more QQs in there. Malcolm, I'll just quickly just mention the NBA part again. First of all, I've been on fire in an NBA, and I've been just mostly fading the studs. Tonight is not a night where I will be doing such things. I love Anthony Davis. I think I'm going to play Giannis and take the shot that this is his big game. I will play Harden in one of my big buy-in lineups with Giannis specifically or with Davis. I think Harden's going to be low owned. Westbrook will be in half my lineups as of this moment. I may pivot off that because I'm annoyed that everyone else is on it, and I also think there is a bust path for this. I think this game could be ugly both ways, which is really weird to say. This is a super interesting series. I like Eric Gordon. I think he's going to be lower owned than he should be, and he's pretty much a sure production guy. I would prefer Eric Gordon over Robert Covington at way higher ownership. I know that sounds crazy, but there's good power forward players like Jay Crowder. There's other guys you can use at power forward, not great, exciting ones, but I like PJ Tucker and Jeff Green on separate lineups. I think there's a Covington foul potential. I don't think you should play Green with Covington, but I think that you also might need size out there. There's a lot of arguments for ways that Green could be more involved. The problem is when Westbrook's there, he doesn't facilitate the offense without Harden. He's basically like their secondary creator, him and Gordon without Westbrook. And instead now he's sort of bumped down so far. But I still think there's upside for him, and they're going to need some size. Brooke Lopez is fine. Especially I like FanDuel, Brooke Lopez, and PJ Tucker are the guys I'm mostly using at center. That's where I'm at. KCP, Caruso, Danny Green, you want to mix all of those guys in. I think Caruso's the best play of all of them. People will worry with Rondo coming back. I like him a lot. He's still going to have ownership. I don't care. I'm going to take some of him. I just think the Lakers are going to need these guards, these wings to play. If you're playing LeBron and Davis, and as much as we want to say we love LeBron, everything, this is the pace that Houston could potentially play with, especially if Westbrook is a go for 36 to 38 minutes, maybe even more. Then you're talking about a pace. I don't know if the Lakers can really keep up with the three-point shooting unless they go really small, for them small, and play two of those guys. I guess you can get away with Kuzma as one of the others, but then you need to play Green and KCP and Caruso all those minutes. That's what's going to happen. I can't see any other route around it, It's a weird game because I could see something funny happening early and either team sort of taking a more conservative approach, especially Houston, maybe resting Russ. And I'm a little worried. I really feel like this is going to be one of those series where you're going to see some blowouts on both sides, and I think it's going to be a great series. FanDuel who for center? I've got a Brolo and Tucker right now. You could speculate with Dwight. That's fine. I don't know, or McGee. I think that I don't know how much those guys are really going to end up playing in this series, and it's a big speculation. So that's what I'm sort of trying to figure out how to deal with. All right, guys, I'm going to head on out here in case unless there's no more QQs. I'll give it about 30 seconds. I really appreciate you guys tuning in. Please spread the word. Give us the like, subscribe, on Twitter when I post these things. Give us a love. Give us the love. We need some love over here. It's hard to convert people, especially from your channel. I know if I do these on my channel, I can get at least a group of 30 or 40 at a time and a couple hundred people to watch it. But we're trying to get people to watch on BetQL here and come and join us. It's a great site, great projections on RotoQL also. Something you should really look into getting into. So I really do support it. Obviously, that's why I'm here. So happy to be so lucky. Anyway, guys, come keep staying with us. We'll be here, absolutely every single day, and we're going to be giving you the free information and who we're playing. I'm not sharing my screen because I'm still trying to figure out what I'm doing on most things. But yeah. Anyway, if there's no more questions in chat, which I'm going to check right now. Do I like Tyler Hero? Mildly. I like Duncan Robinson as a longer shot, lower owned, small forward eligible play. Even though I think he doesn't get there nearly as often, obviously. But when he does, you're getting a whole different leverage thing off of the Hero who's going to have more ownership. He takes up a guard spot and probably has less of a ceiling in this matchup. It's close. I don't know. Duncan Robinson can make like 8-10 threes in the game. Like he can get that kind of weird hot where they have to play him. And even if they're getting crushed, I think he might even be out there a lot for that time. So I don't know. Like there's a lot of things I could see with Duncan Robinson going there. Middleton, fine. Not excited about it. Liked him better on FanDuel. Liked him better when we were getting him at low ownership. The fact that everyone's sort of jumping over to him now and sort of people are getting off Giannis, I'm going to take that and just go right back to Giannis in a must-win and think that hope that Budenholzer hasn't just completely lost his mind. And he's been the worst coach at adjusting. I just can't believe how dumb he's been. I mean, it's so dumb to not play these guys 40 plays. Go out there, play your minutes. This is BS. Don't do this 20-minute. It's not how you play in the playoffs. The guy doesn't know how to win. He needs somebody who knows how to win on his team. Anyway. All right, guys. Hey, I really appreciate all of you. Thank you so much for hanging out. For everybody at BetQL, I will say good luck, and we'll see you at the top of the leaderboards.